A good game is like a good cup of tea. Everything has to come together to make it just right. A game has to balance a story, coding, graphics, handling, and much more. With tea, it's about the water temperature, the brand, the steeping time, the heat. So much to have a comfy, cozy experience. If you recognize that song, then you might not need me to tell you, but we're talking about Minecraft. It's a game of endless potential, quite literally, because unless you are copy and pasting a world seed, every Minecraft world is unique. Entire stories can be crafted from the get-go. Insert a Minecraft movie joke about, first we mine, then we craft, 1, 2, 3, Minecraft. Minecraft is one of the biggest, and I mean the biggest, cultural hits of the 21st century. British newspaper The Guardian has cited it as the best video game of the 21st century to date, while the entertainment website Polygon listed it as the most important game of the decade in its 2010s Decade in Review. Developed by Mojang Studios, the game initially released in a public alpha form in 2009, with a formal, proper release in 2011. It's a sandbox game, which means free control is part of the game. While there are goals and achievements to accomplish, they're never required. The goal, and I say this with the largest of quotation marks, is to kill the Ender Dragon. The fan base considers that the goal, once again, large air quotes, as that's the only way to see the end credits. However, there is no end to Minecraft. The only ending is the one you set when you decide that you're done with a world. The game has multiple ways to play. At the very bottom of this, not a pyramid but diagram of ways to play, we have creative and survival mode. Creative mode is where players have full control of the world. They have an endless supply of blocks and resources. They can fly, can't die, can swim without drowning. They can do everything with no limits. On the other side is survival mode. Players can build whatever they want, but now resources are limited. They have to gather resources while not dying. In fact, that's the only non-comfy part of Minecraft. The first few nights of any world will be dangerous because of the lack of resources, leaving you vulnerable to hostile enemies. Because of creative mode's limitless potential, you see a lot of art coming from it. Creative mode and command blocks are how someone made a working version of the original Pokemon games in Minecraft. However, unless it's showing off unique building techniques or explaining complex redstone circuitry, creative mode isn't as popular. Certainly, it's the passage of every child born in the 2000s to build a house out of diamond blocks. However, the more popular gameplay style is certainly survival. This could stem from the work and labor that goes into not just building your world, but farming for it. That isn't to say creative is pointless. Reminder, someone made Pokemon in Minecraft, and in fact, one of the interviews we have featured later in this episode actually talks about how he uses creative mode to create works of art. However, unless it's feasibly impossible to make in survival, most people really are only turning to creative mode to plan out a build before they commit to it. From there, we have hardcore, which is survival mode, but if you die once, you lose the world. There are other game modes like Spectator, which allows you to fly around a world as a ghost, and Adventure mode, which plays like survival mode but without the ability to place or break blocks. While hardcore is more popular than ever, the other two are not. Adventure mode is only used to play on player-made maps that require players to follow a story or adventure of that server, and Spectator is just fun if you want to look back on a lost hardcore world. Another aspect to gameplay is single-player and multiplayer. Single-player truly makes you feel alone, especially when so many of the game's resources, especially in recent updates, have been geared toward benefiting multiplayer. It's still a comfy game, especially when you have a good base established, but those first few nights can be haunting. I would say if I was a child. If you're a small child, I can see why the nighttime in Minecraft is scary, thanks to hostile creatures like zombies, skeletons, and creepers, which are the bane of most people's existence because of their explosive nature. But fast forward a few years, you're chilling on your bed, 3 Dr. Peppers in with an almost empty family-sized bag of Cheetos Puffs. I am not speaking from personal experience, and you sit there realizing how silly the game is. Minecraft is a very philosophical game. It's not just labor and work and creativity, but it's true philosophy, such as, is it ethical for me to enslave an entire race of beings even though they aren't sentient and they're just code in the game? Does it represent some deeper desire of subjugation and domination? I don't know. I don't get to build a lot of villager trading halls because I'm not that good at the game. But who knows? Now, take that essence of playing the game as an adult and share it amongst multiple college students, and you end up with 5 people running in a circle in their bases, not even playing the game, just enjoying the atmosphere while one of them is building a tree as they discuss why they all believe they could take down Canada, and somehow Chinese food was involved in the conversation. You have the best Christmas Eve of my life, and yes, we were all sober. Whether on your own or with friends, you're going to have a wonderful time, though I admit I find the game most fun when I'm with friends, or at least playing by myself on a server that I share with friends. Some of my favorite college memories have circled around this game. My best friend from high school has a realm we've been playing on since my freshman year. We've had 3 iterations of the world, using the restarts to keep our creativity fresh. Since then, we've had a few people I've met at college join, and while the server is fun, due to the busyness of college, my favorite memories will be with the first server. I still remember sitting my Switch next to my laptop on my desk, standing in front of a mop grinder to gather experience points while doing homework. I was hating the assignment, but that dopamine loop of letting hordes of zombies build up in this little cobblestone tube, clearing them out and harvesting the experience was cathartic. It was also a nice timer as I worked. When the tube got too full, I stopped working on homework, cleared the tube, and went back to work. It was that little break that made quite possibly the most efficient homework night of my entire college career. That first world really was something. My friend Connor, the owner of the realm, had claimed a plains biome near spawn for his base. A few other guys we knew from high school had claimed their own locales. One guy traveled over 1,000 blocks to live in a pillager outpost. He had to live on the bottom half of slabs to prevent pillagers from respawning. I had traveled a good distance myself. I had found a beautiful rocky coastline with 2 little rock formations just a few blocks off the coast in the water. The smallest, flattest one is where I set up my workshop while I worked on my base. The larger, hilly rock formation was home to my proudest creation yet. I carved out the inside of the rock formation to make a stairwell leading up to the top, entering into a mighty white and red lighthouse. It was my first home. From there, I would build a front door with a mighty bridge connecting to the coast where the rest of my builds went. I built a beautiful wooden greenhouse with solar panels that turned the lights on at night. Off a ways was a motel for sheep and their different wool colors, alongside a nice parking lot for horses and other rideable animals. The most difficult was the cow farm. I had built a UFO in the sky with a tractor beam that served as the elevator to go to and from. The difficult part, obviously, was getting the cows in the air. There were other beautiful builds. Some old friends of mine had followed a tutorial and built a beautiful modern/gothic style manor. My friend Connor built a menacing fortress with lava flowing from the front towers. My friend and the Dead Podcasters Society secretary Chloe Peacock had joined the server later than the rest of us, but still built a wonderful series of tree houses. Chloe spoke about her history with Minecraft. She's been playing since she was in 8th grade.
My little brother got me into it. And we started playing together.
It's that chance to bond with her brother that kept her playing for so long. Even now, she uses it to bond with friends and express herself creatively.
It was Xbox 360 edition, which is a little bit different from the more modern editions of Minecraft like Bedrock and Java, but it just being able to connect with him, trying to get through the nether. We never beat the dragon. I still haven't, but just spending time with him was really meaningful. Again, it's a way to connect with my friends. I find it relaxing. Also, it's a way to be creative, especially in survival mode. You have to be creative within those confines. You have to kind of use what you have, and so that kind of gets your brain thinking about things.
Like me, Chloe isn't able to play Minecraft as much. In fact, alongside the rest of our friends, when we can hop on, we don't even really play the game. Each and every one of us enjoys the mundane things while we talk. In this case, a lot of times it's fishing. It's a nice way to relax.
I mean, sometimes, you can get a little bit tilted when you're, especially if you die, and that can get kind of stressful, but, there are other aspects of it that are relaxing, like fishing especially. I know some people don't like fishing, but I like fishing in Minecraft. It's almost kind of meditative.
Fishing is a weird universal event. Whether in real life or virtually, the best conversations always happen while fishing, I've noticed. That lighthouse really has been the peak of my building experience, until it was gone. I had built my lighthouse out of wood and wool, because I didn't have access to concrete yet. My friends were telling me not to do it, that it'll burn down too easily. I always insisted that I'd rebuild it later and improve it slowly. I think the reason I love that first realm so much is because of how much of a story we had made, even out of little things that were never intended to be foreshadowing. I don't like PvP or fighting in Minecraft, especially on a controller. You have to hit buttons in a certain ways that force me to hold my controller in ways that are uncomfortable for my hands. I could remap the buttons, but I don't fight enough to warrant it. It's why when an old friend would always force a world in every world we had, I was always cautious about building around him. If you haven't picked it up, my magnum opus was gone. The whole thing didn't burn down, but it was so fragmented and crumbling that I chose to tear it down instead of rebuilding it. I never had a roof over my head for the rest of the world. I lived on top of that rock, amongst the grass and trees that had returned, a campfire, my only light source. I really do think the reason that server was the most active was the story we made. While I could sit here and tell you about how wonderful the control schemes in Minecraft are, how the game functions well, how the game's multiple systems and farming systems and just everything about it coalesced, I think the best way to talk about what makes Minecraft a good game is how you're able to make your own story. While the other servers are memorable, that first one was the most detailed. The second realm was memorable because it was more humorous. One guy joined for the first week, harvested a lot of netherite, the rarest ore in the game, and a few months later, when we realized he was never returning, Connor and I stole all of the netherite. I would say Mission Impossible style, or Ocean's 8 style if you want to go that route. From there, it was mainly just jokes. My friend Abby and I had hollowed out ground beneath Chloe's base and built a cult of chickens. Abby herself kept starting over time and time again. Her first base was a simple starter home. Her second was carved out of a mountain. She abandoned both, then traveled thousands of blocks, and I mean thousands. We had to dig an entire underground tunnel just to make transport between her new home and the spawn area safe. Just to build a house in the middle of a lake where she roomed with a llama she trapped in a boat and named Obama. She never expanded on that. It's one of those jokes that's funny because it doesn't make sense. Also, because as a send-off to each realm, my friend Connor makes a copy of the current state of the realm so we can blow the whole thing up but still have a way to look back on it. When we blew up the last server, all of our pets and builds perished in a great cleansing, if you will. Except for Obama. Obama was the only one to survive. I also had a cave of frogs in that server. I was a frog dad. The newest server we have isn't as active in terms of the story, though we are trying to get ourselves more interested. We have little events we're trying to plan. It's a game about enjoyment. It's not a game you rush. It really is just we hop on, fish, and chat sometimes. A lot of our recent time has actually been spent on multiplayer minigame servers. Entire Minecraft servers created by other players to offer even more players more ways to enjoy the game. It's another way to interact, to socialize, to relax. There's too many minigames to cover, and they're all fan-made. They're not official. They're not official minigames that Mojang sponsors. And even then, I don't play them to win. While it does feel nice to win, my friends and I have been really good at consistently coming in second place for a game like Bed Wars. Recently, former Dead Podcaster Society co-president Alex Grimes had been joining me for minigame night. Alex has been playing Minecraft for 15 years. He started when the game first came out on phones, introduced to it by his cousin. It all continued from there.
My cousin originally introduced it to me, and she basically said, "Hey, there's this game you can get on your phone. You can build stuff. It's pretty cool. It's called Minecraft." So I said, "Yeah, I'll check it out," and the rest is history. I play Minecraft because, well, I mean, it's fun. You have to kind of think something's fun in order to play it, but it also, and I'll touch back on this point later, there's a lot to do in Minecraft. The possibilities in it are almost endless. It's honestly, if you ask me, it's one of the best sandbox games out there.
For the 4 years I have known Alex, he's always been a fan of football. Of course, he found a way to combine the two.
One of my so I have a few favorite memories of Minecraft, all of which have to do with American football, because you know me, of course. The first one was me and a bunch of buddies had made an online server, and I had gotten a younger cousin to get on the server, and we built this humongous football stadium on it. It's like 3 decks high, and at the nosebleeds, like, you're so high you can't even see the people that are actually on the field. It's pretty funny. It's honestly hilarious with how big it is. It's even got like a working scoreboard too, which is pretty cool.
Obviously, he found a way to play football in Minecraft, and I'll just let him speak because he and some friends of his somehow made an entire actual functioning football league in this game.
My other favorite memory is it's kind of in a multiplayer server, excuse me. Basically, I was on an online server that had a Minecraft football league, and I was in like the division where the worst players were, because you know, for all the for like all the new players, they'd put you in that division, and then you could work your way up. So I was in the bottom tier because, you know, I was relatively new. This was like my 3rd season pretty much. And the team that I was on was historically pretty bad. I think we were really bad my first season there, and it was because all of us were new. We barely missed the playoffs my 2nd season, and then my 3rd season we actually went to the playoffs. And this memory that I'm specifically talking about, I caught the go-ahead touchdown that put us ahead, so we'd win the game and go to the clinch a spot in the playoffs. So that was a pretty cool memory that I have. Another memory is in that same server, but I moved up a division. I had actually gotten really, really good. This was my first season in the 2nd division of this league. And it was the 2nd game of the season. The team that I was on, and funnily enough, this team also moved up to the 2nd division for some reason. I was on a team called the War Motion Tropics, and we were playing a team called the Sea Temple Turtles. And, you know, it's got to stick with the Minecraft theme and such. And in this game, I had like 4 touchdowns, and the final score, I think, was like 28-14 or something like that, and I scored every single touchdown, including an onside kick that we got, and I cribbed it. So that was a pretty fun one. Obviously, I won MVP of that game, and that game was also streamed on Twitch, so that was also pretty cool. I also got something, since that was my first season in that division, I was up for something called Rookie of the Year, which is something that every division has for like new players that are entering that division. So I got that award as well. So that was also pretty cool.
Although his time in the league is over, Alex still finds reasons to play Minecraft. He'll hop on with friends, play with some mods, but he mainly focuses on the building aspect. This is the one I mentioned, focusing more on creative building.
Admittedly, I mostly play in creative mode, so whenever I do something like that, I'm often building a lot of stuff, typically football stadiums. And I've built some pretty big football stadiums. I don't think I've ever really built a replica. I think I've always just built just an original football stadium that I just come up with. I've built all kinds of things. I've built wrestling arenas, basketball arenas, arena football stadiums. Yes, that's a thing. You should look it up. It's very fun. And the football stadiums. It got to the point to where I got so good at building stadiums that me and my siblings and a cousin, we all made this Minecraft world. And we made this city, and I was in charge of the entertainment district. So I just built like all kinds of sports arenas and stuff, and they turned out great. And completing those, it's minute and it's really, really small, and it's not really like too much of a thing to brag about, really, unless you're just gonna post it on the internet. But I mean, it makes me proud, and that I'm able to just log on and look at what I've done. It's a pretty cool feeling.
For Alex, Minecraft's ability to be relaxing depends on the moment, but it's that flip between relaxing and stressful that keeps him coming back.
There are times whenever I'm in like creative, I'll just be able to just turn my brain off and I can just focus on a build. I just kind of forget the world even exists. It's just me, my room, and the game, or in whatever the heck I'm deciding to build. And so that part can be relaxing. Now, if you're starting a world in survival and on hardcore, God no, that's not relaxing in the slightest. You're tense. You're clinching at every single movement, because in hardcore, if you die, that's it. You can't respawn or anything. You can go around and spectate the world, but you can't respawn. Favorite aspect about Minecraft, and I glossed over this earlier at the beginning of this, is you can really do just about anything in that game, and there is a lot to do. You can go into creative and build stuff. You can try and get every single achievement in the game in survival mode. You can play a survival world and try and go beat the Ender Dragon, beat the game, fight all the bosses and all that stuff. And you can do that same thing again, but in hardcore, where you only have one life. And if you if you find all that boring and you want more stuff to do, you could just go download a mod pack or an adventure map, and then bang, there's just endless stuff to do. Well, there are some things in Minecraft that I just find absolutely hilarious at times. Like, you'll be in a survival world and you'll get cornered in a cave and you don't have a bed and you can't get out of the said cave to actually get to your bed, so you have to just kind of build yourself kind of in this little hut thing, close it off, and just pray that they leave eventually. Or if you really want to, you can just create a tiny hole, and then you can hit them the harmful mobs through that hole. But all that's happening, you could be running for your life or fighting for your life in that game, and you'll hear the most relaxing music of all time. And it's honestly, it does get pretty silly. But admittedly, Minecraft does have some pretty creepy songs, and honestly just some creepy atmosphere sound effects that go to it as well. When you go to the Nether, the soundtrack changes to kind of this eerie down kind of vibe. Because, honestly, let's just be honest. The Nether is just hell. The Nether is just hell. So it's kind of got this little creepy undertone. And I don't know. That music has always just creeped me out. And in caves as well. I think caves have creeped me out. The cave, ambiance has always freaked me out more than the Nether. But Minecraft has one of those soundtracks where it actually legitimately just creeps me out, and I handle horror movies and horror games and all that stuff just fine. I'm not really too affected by any of those, but Minecraft has done such a good job with their sound design, where I hear a sound and I'm like, oh, that's creepy, I should leave, and I'll just leave and give up on my conquest on whatever I'm doing.
As part of the show, alongside the featured game for the episode, I also try to look at a flavor of tea. While I will try to better pair the tea with the game in the future, I kept things simple with a peppermint and creamy vanilla tea by Twinnings. It's a smooth and creamy flavor. Pulling a bag out of the box, I admit that the peppermint is the most predominant piece. While I'm sure that vanilla creates a nice undertone, the peppermint is the main highlight. It takes center stage, sometimes to an almost overpowering degree. The tea is caffeine-free, meaning it won't hype you up. The box's ingredients list shows that it uses peppermint, natural mint flavor. Overall, it's pretty good. Tea in general has a rich history, with its origins beginning, allegedly, around 2737 BC in China, when Chinese Emperor Shen Nung discovered the drink when leaves from a nearby tree fell into a pot of boiling water, though the first real appearance of tea was around 350 CE in the Yunnan province of China. Tea would move through Eastern Asia and would not reach Europe until trade with Asia brought it over in 1606. Twinnings, as a company, began in 1706 as a coffee house. Thomas Twinnings sold tea as a way to stand out from the competition. It became so popular that Thomas brought more tea shops, making one into a shop that sold tea exclusively, called the Golden Lion, in 1717. The shop would change hands in the following years. Tom's son Daniel took over in 1741. Then in 1762, after his death, Daniel's wife Mary took over. From there, their son Richard took leadership in 1783. Richard is one who commissioned the logo that is used today, back in 1787. From there, it's all history as Twinnings continued to grow. They've worked with royalty, they've provided supplies and more. They were even featured on Saturday Night Live. It doesn't get any better than that. That short history lesson came from Twinnings' own website. I admit that I'm still getting adjusted to tea. My palate is so used to sweet tea that a regular tea tastes bland sometimes. I also admit that I make the water way too hot. I need to learn proper tea making technique because every time I drink tea it scalds my tongue so much that I can't taste anything. I promise by next episode I will have improved my tea making skills. At the bare minimum, even if you aren't going to drink much, as long as you like peppermint, it's a nice aroma to occasionally sip from and bring your nose to catch a whiff of. It truly is a wonderful little drink. In a way, its scent is like Minecraft. It can be overwhelming if you let it, but as long as you take your time, then it's quite peaceful. I would recommend the peppermint and vanilla herbal tea to those specifically okay with the peppermint. Like I said, it's a very overwhelming scent. Now, as we move away from the tea, I think it's finally time that we talk more about what exactly within, not just my own personal experience, but what exactly makes Minecraft a good game. Yes, moments like getting to play the game with my friends and these stories are all great, but what about it actually makes it, well, so fun? What about it makes it, well, Minecraft? I think it comes down to a lot of things. Of course, naturally, when you first look at it, you have, of course, the more simple, more pixelated art style of it. Now, recent games have actually begun to make the designs more detailed. When the game first released, the mob designs were very simple, and as more and more mobs have been added to the game, they more often than not are much more detailed in their designs. They still have that pixel art style, but it's a more detailed pixel art style, where zombies are green with black eyes, with a light blue shirt and dark blue pants and gray shoes, and they do feature some gradient in the form of slightly darker green pixels on the edges of their heads and arms. Most mobs are kind of monotone, very little detailing. Horses were always an outlier, especially when they were added as one of the later mobs, because they were much more detailed than even something like a pig or a cow. In fact, Mojang has came under fire recently because some people are mad that they're going in and adapting older designs. Because they want the world to feel more unified, they've started changing and updating older looks. While some mobs, like a lot of the hostile mobs, are going unchanged, many of the peaceful mobs have been getting updates. Things like pigs and chickens, they've been receiving temperate variants. Pigs and chickens will have color variations depending on if you're in a biome that is considered warm, cold, or neutral temperature. It's really cool, actually, to see this happen. Since it's actually something they did with frogs when those were first introduced. Frogs have a fun game mechanic where you have to somehow get them to eat a magma cube in the nether. That's a whole thing, and it's actually one of the things I don't like. Frogs have a fun little gimmick where there's 3 color variants. There's green, orange, and white, and you can only obtain the 3 by raising and the frogs from tadpoles in one of the 3 climate types. Colder, more temperate biomes will give you an orange frog, while more neutral weather types will give you the green frogs, and of course the hot biome types, such as deserts and mesas. Those will give you a white variant, and those are determined when the tadpole grows up, which is also nice. They've updated the baby mobs recently to basically just have bigger heads and smaller bodies. For the more humanoid ones, like the baby zombies and the baby villagers, but they've even went in and adjusted some of the farm animals. Baby chickens now actually look like little yellow chicks instead of just a tiny chicken with a big head. Baby cows the same way. It's an interesting thing to see as we leave an era. For people who play the Java edition of Minecraft, which is the original version, it's not that bad. You can always go back to the older versions, whereas with Bedrock, which is what I play, it's the version that encompasses mobile and video game consoles, as well as a version 4 on computers. It's interesting. I'm sure they will give us a way to see these older designs, but the issue with Bedrock is once you update, you can't travel back to older versions of the game. You're essentially locked into these new designs unless they give you a texture pack that allows you to use the old ones. Like they did when they did a lot of block updates, they actually gave out a free texture pack that allowed you to retexture the items to look like their original designs. They've actually been doing a lot of redesigns for years. It first started with a series of blocks just being remodeled, as well as some items like wheat was no longer a bundle of green and lime green pixels. Now it looks like wheat. The game has just been evolving, and I think that's what makes Minecraft so timeless. It's passion to evolve. Every year, there's some new update that adds some new mechanic to the game. A few months ago, at the time of this recording, we got a huge update with copper. Copper was an ore that, especially when it was first introduced a few years ago, it was kind of useless. Outside of just nice blocks and the ability to have a nice orange or a nice green if you let it oxidize long enough, there just wasn't a lot. They recently expanded that, especially with the trial chambers, making that the key block as the decorative block for that build. These new block types were amazing to see, especially because it actually gave more value to harvesting copper. Of all of the ores I've collected, I'm always running low on iron and diamonds. Copper was the one that I actually found myself not even taking the time to smelt, because what would I do with it? I didn't build a lot with the copper blocks, and I never really needed a lot of copper blocks. It was nice to see them finally put some use to it, and in fact, thanks to the changes in how mining works in the game, it actually stretches out the beginning of the game a little. You see, the average, at least the original method of progression, was you would first spawn in the world and you would gather some wood. You would craft wood tools, and if you felt like taking the time, you could try to build a starter house, though most likely you would dig a hole for the first night. If you were willing to, you could make an animal farm, specifically a cow farm, to harvest leather. That way you could make leather armor. From there, you could also, either during that process, after or before, you would also go over, take your wooden tools, and gather stone and make stone tools. From there, with the stone tools and leather armor, you would descend deeper into the caves, gathering coal to make torches, to light your path, and then eventually you would get to iron level. There you would gather your iron, you would bring it back, you would smelt it, and then you would make iron tools and iron armor, the first ore type to have both an armor type and a weapons tree. From there you would take those iron items and you would go down for the rarer metals, gold, lapis lazuli, redstone. these are ores that, while you can use them and are important for gameplay, they're not as useful. Redstone really only is used for redstone contraptions. Lapis comes in handy for enchanting. And gold, while gold does have its own series of tools, they're useless because they break the easiest, they break the fastest, and they just aren't good. What you do look for is the diamonds. That's what once again, it's like, it's a rite of passage for a child to go and descend into the caves and come back up and run through their parents' house screaming, I found diamonds, I found diamonds. It really is a magical moment, even as a grown adult. I still have this well of joy form within me when I see that nice blue, that nice baby blue in the distance. It really is something magical. And then, of course, the journey back, the journey to take my rewards to the surface and finally have some diamonds in my chest. It's amazing. And originally, before the Caves and Cliffs update, it was simple. You would just simply go to y=11 on your coordinates to strip mine for diamonds. However, they've changed that. Once again, this game is evolving always. Originally, the elevations determined the ores, and they were pretty well balanced. Once again, this all ties back to the copper conversation from earlier. It's all typically well balanced. It was, in fact, in the old style, while I was mining for diamonds, I would find a lot of iron. Not as much nowadays. They've actually, in my opinion, this is the one downside to the updates. While they did make the y coordinate, which is your up and down axis, go further down beyond 0, they spread out the ores. There was a sense of fun in going mining and finding some diamonds, finding a bunch of iron amongst the diamonds. That way it also made sense because it was easier. It was nice to be able to, I remember as a kid, I would always have a lot of iron because I would mine a lot of iron. But nowadays, with how spread out the ores are, you have to specifically go to a specific level to find that specific spread of ores, and it's not as fun because you have to. This is the part of Minecraft that hurts a lot. Even the most stressful can be relaxing, and then there's these little things. While I love the tool progression, especially in the modern day system, it's just not as fun. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the inclusion of copper, and I do think it is nice to have a better armor style, especially since iron is much deeper in the ground now. However, it feels like it was an answer to a problem that didn't need to exist. However, while I'm sitting here complaining, I have no reason to. While I don't like how they've changed the way ore is distributed on the y-axis, I love the Caves and Cliffs update. Once again, every update is about improving. Even if you just play on peaceful or anything, it's a wonderful situation. In fact, the original idea for mining is you would just dig into the ground and you would start a strip mine. You would go in one direction and that was it. But a lot of people have actually been realizing that the best way to go mining is to actually go caving. Originally, caves were more dangerous and more risky. Mobs would spawn everywhere, but with how beautiful, with how sprawling and massive, you'll break a wall open and suddenly you have an entire underground biome. Let's not forget about the fact that there are still both new and old structures you can find. There's something magical about digging around and finding an old abandoned mine shaft. While it is creepy and you do have to fight some cave spiders that can inflict you with poison, there's something fun running around the old caves. Maybe you're the one who wants to spruce it up and restore it to its former glory with all the mine carts running back and forth. It's genuinely an amazing experience. The controls also are amazing. They're responsive, they are reactive. I've never played a game of Minecraft and thought, wow, this doesn't respond well. Even when I was playing on Kindle Fire back in middle school, the old Pocket Edition was still just as responsive, even if it did run slower. In fact, my only issue with Minecraft is how a lot of times you do have to turn to wikis for especially a lot of the newer additions creatures like the sniffer being locked behind underwater archaeology, and things like trial chambers. While those can get stressful, I have not taken part in one myself, but I've seen videos of people, it being a very fun time amongst friends to go farming these little chambers. I think the game's longevity comes down to the fact that it really is just every child. It is the perfect sandbox game, as Alex Grimes said earlier. Once again, I think a lot of people's love for Minecraft stems from that childhood memory, but not from a place of nostalgia, but from a place of how it keeps the creative spirit going. In fact, I remember in high school, my high school had school iPads that instead of like laptops or something useful, we got iPads, and some teachers actually would incorporate Minecraft. Specifically, we used Education Edition. They would incorporate Minecraft into the school's curriculum. Specifically, it would be something like science teachers, but I remember a Latin teacher of mine. Yes, I took Latin in high school. Quite possibly, maybe a regret of mine, maybe not. Who knows? But I had a Latin teacher who had us do a project that involved recreating a Roman house. Of course, we could do physical models, but then she also said, hey, you can build it in Minecraft. And so I got a few buddies together and we recreated. It did not look good. Certain parts of the building would be out of scale. The building itself was too big while the interior was too small. But I still got a good grade, and it was still fun getting to bring this to life. In fact, I myself find myself trying to be more realistic in my house builds, or more fantastical. I like to go for a more rustic design with spruce wood, the darker colors, especially on that coastline of that first world. The gray rocky tones really went well with that. I think there's also something to say of Minecraft's complexity. While it can get very complex and it can get annoying to look at wikis, sometimes it's the fun of it. It's the scholarly, academic aspect of the game that makes it so much fun. While Bedrock's systems are still much different and still behind of Java, Redstone is a big part of the community, and in fact, that's typically where you'll see, unless they're building huge and impressive buildings, that's where most creative players spend their time, learning how to make these elaborate redstone contraptions. In fact, many will make mini games for their world. I myself love a good old piston door, where you just stand on a pressure plate, and then some blocks pull and retract to reveal an opening where a door should be. That itself is just engineering 101 and is actually very impressive when people are able to make it work. I think it's a very fun time, and once again, I think the fun of this game is from the ability to do whatever you want. You can add whatever mods you want, you can make whatever maps you want. As a kid, I really liked making little roller coasters, but at the same time, I loved going into creative and making elaborate bases to survive out of, even if I would lose interest, because once again, where's the joy in making it? But at least for those creative ones, I always tried to be a little fun with it and incorporate command blocks, especially when those were added to Pocket Edition. I would try to incorporate command blocks that allowed me to hidden little rooms that I would stand on a pressure plate and teleport into. Yeah, it was a little lame. But that's not even to begin with, you know. I know we have talked a lot about how survival mode is stressful, but if you want the grind and the labor of survival mode, but want something more akin to, say, Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing, you can change the difficulty of the game. There are 4 difficulty modes: easy, normal, hard, and peaceful. Easy and normal are, well, that, and hard, of course, is hard. Hard means there's more mobs do more damage, you take more damage. And of course, easy means the opposite. In fact, in hard mode, your health regenerates slower, while in easy mode, it regenerates faster. And of course, peaceful is where you basically can't die. It's creative mode, but without infinite access to blocks and the ability to fly. You can still die, but it's only in situations where you are falling from incredible heights, or if you get stuck in something like a lava river. The peaceful game mode does not actually prevent you from losing your hunger in your hunger bar, and has the fastest health regeneration rate. And in fact, that regeneration rate is so fast, unless you're just being plain stupid, like once again you're just in a river of lava, you're not going to die. It really is a nice little way, especially if you want something cozier. I also think there's something to say about the alternate dimensions of Minecraft. I'm actually quite happy that Mojang doesn't plan on adding any new dimensions. I think 3 is the perfect amount. As Alex Grimes said before, the Nether is really just hell. But not fully. When the game first released, it was a very gross, yucky place to look at. And when they added an update specifically made for the Nether, a lot more people seemed to like it. Originally, the Nether was the place you went just because, oh, I gotta go to the Nether and get blaze rods and to make brewing stands and I have to get these resources. It was a place you went begrudgingly. Nowadays, most people love the Nether, not just in the new wood types and the sprawling, beautiful landscapes, but also because it is the best way to travel in the game, as in the Nether, 1 block in the Nether is 8 blocks in the real world, is in the overworld, which means that you can make entire highway systems in the Nether using these portals. It doesn't work as well in Bedrock because of the way portals sync. It's a whole thing. The way portals sync up in the Nether, it's like if you have a portal in Java, as long as the other portal is 100 blocks away, it won't sync up. The problem is that radius is wider to 1,000 blocks in Bedrock, which makes it way more annoying to create that. So you don't see it as often, but it is still wonderful. And once again, they keep adding more stuff. Recently, they actually gave a way for survival players to fly outside of the Elytra, which is in-game exclusive, and the elusive end cities that are only accessible once you beat the dragon. Now you can find a happy ghast, which is the alternate version of a ghast, which is a hostile mob. Now the happy ghast is something you can fly. I also like how the game is making rarer materials more accessible. Things like name tags and saddles. I never understood why those were locked behind finding treasure chests in hidden jungle or desert temples, or why I could only get those while fishing. I think, while yes, it makes sense, I think there's something fun in giving players the creative freedom to name whatever animal, whatever they want to name it, and when. They shouldn't be limited by that stuff. I think the game is going to continue. The game will never end. There will never be a Minecraft 2. It's also why I think, no matter how hard they try, I don't think they can ever get a successful spin-off game to work. Years and years ago, they had the Telltale Games company make the Minecraft story mode, which, well, that was good. It was cool for like the first few episodes, and then people lost interest. After that, they've tried to make other games. They made a Pokemon Go knockoff that, well, as you can tell, nobody knows about that one because it didn't last too long. They've tried many other things. They made a roguelike dungeon crawler called Minecraft Dungeons, and while that one is fun, they also tried a real-time strategy combat game. But what all of these lack is, while these are nice ways to include in the Minecraft world, Minecraft Dungeons does a lot to improve and add more variety to the enemy types. And I do respect Minecraft Dungeons for doing what it does. These games are just not as fun. There's still some level of lack of freedom that regular Minecraft has. And while I do respect these games for wanting to tell their stories and wanting to be what they are, I think they lack a lot of what makes Minecraft so great, which is the freedom. I think the comfiest moments are that freedom that Minecraft gives you. It's that ability to choose to go to war with your friends or just be a farmer. I think the game is unbeatable in any way. In fact, a few years ago, I think there was about 1 million YouTube videos related to Minecraft, and while Minecraft was made popular by social media sites, if it wasn't for Minecraft, many of these social media sites I don't think would be as popular. In fact, so many people, if you ask them what their childhood entertainment included, especially if they were Gen Z or older millennial or even Gen Alpha, most likely they're going to name a Minecraft YouTuber in there somewhere. Even though there are now, well, jokes about the typical Minecraft YouTuber being maybe not safe to keep around children, it still says something that so much, even if a kid could not play the game when they were younger, their childhood was still shaped by the creativity from other creators. The game genuinely has no end. Whether or not people want to argue about these new updates, it's all going to keep growing. It's a game of endless possibility, and it truly is one of my favorite games of all times. It really has been what has kept me sane throughout college. To go more into detail about those little realms I have, me and my friends have a tradition. We schedule, and it depends on our schedules, especially now that my friend Connor has been finally able to find work recently. He's not as available to play Hop On. We've always had the rule that at least once a week, we schedule that as our Minecraft night. Especially this past year, we haven't really been able to have Minecraft night. More so, it's we hop on a phone call and hang out. I might play another game. Some friends might play Stardew Valley. But even then, it's still the essence of that Minecraft night. We still try to make sure. In fact, the whole reason we introduced minigame night is because we still want to bond over our shared love for this one game. It really is a piece of art, and I genuinely encourage you to try it. It's about time we begin to wrap this up. Minecraft will always be my go-to game to relax. Whether I am mining in the caves or farming crops, I find myself rejuvenated every time I play it. It's very much like a good cup of tea. It truly is a comfy game.